the Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here today with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David, how are you doing tonight?
Good. I love your background, Bruce. That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's an old one from Rexall Place. You'll notice there's no number 4 there, and there's no Vince Sather, Rod Phillips, just the original 7 odd numbers that hung there for quite a long time.
Indeed. The good old days. All right, Bruce. We're talking about the interesting new days. 3-2 loss to the Washington Capitals in a game that was kind of miserable on many levels. It was, I think, to me, the worst Oilers loss of the year, the most demoralizing loss,
Yep.
the loss that has me most concerned about the team.
Yep.
I haven't really been concerned that much about the team, but that loss made me concerned about the team.
I'm very concerned.
Yeah, and I know there's lots of injuries right now with Hyman. God, they missed Hyman. Shows how much huge he's been their. I say he's been their best player is too much, but he's been their best winger, and he's been close to their best player. Like he's just been fantastic. He leads with his hustle and his execution and effort, which I thought were both kind of lacking. Strangely, execution certainly. The grade A shots, Bruce, were 20-5. For the Capitals, 20, and the 5 alarm shots, a subset, 15-3. So the very best scoring chances were 15-3. And when you do the X goals based on those, the Oilers had an X goal of 1.5 goals, and they scored 2. So they were kind of on track. The Caps had 6.25. They should have scored 6 or 7 goals that game. And it was just, obviously Stuart Skinner, when we're going to talk more about that. This is our 2 good things, 2 bad things, and 2 numbers podcast. Bruce, go ahead, lead the way with your good thing.
Yeah, well, it's a pretty obvious one on this night, other than you might have it. But Stuart Skinner, there's no way that we're not going to single him out for high praise on a night that really, I don't think there's any other Oilers that's deserving of high praise, and not very many that are worthy of low praise. But Stuart Skinner did his utmost to keep Edmonton in this game, and ultimately he got saddled with a loss on a night that he posted a .940 save percentage, but got no offensive support, no defensive support. Let's put it that way. And the Oilers gave in 19 shots, David, in the first 12 minutes of the first period, as once again they came out for the start of a game in their own building and got run out of their own bloody building by an opposition team that had lost 7 of its 8 previous road games. So, I mean, there's reason for Washington to play desperate. And they did, and they played a good game.
They sure did.
Make no mistake. Washington needed to win that game, and they won it. And they deserved to win it, and they deserved to win it by a lot more than they did. In my headline of the player grades, I said Oilers thumped 3-2 by Washington. I could have chose any number of synonyms.
Annihilated.
Like drubbed, pounded, stomped, ass kicked. Punted to the curb, there's lots of different. I mean, it's 3-2, but it's a regulation loss again, and a well-deserved loss because the team didn't have it, despite the fact their goalie was outstanding. He stopped all 22 he faced in the first period, including, I think there was 8 grade A shots in the first period, and he stopped all of them. And then in the second, 19 more shots. In the third, the Oilers in Washington, once they finally got the lead, they stopped going for shots and they just started to go for shot prevention. But they still got 3 breakaways in the third, or was it 4? So,
3, yeah,
clear-cut breakaways. And Skinner stopped those. The only one he didn't stop was the one where the guy on the breakaway made the drop pass and just completely bamboozled Evan Bouchard, who dove to the ice trying to make a hero play and then got up and faced the wrong way and didn't know where the puck was. Well, the guy right behind him shot it into the net. So, but this was the kind of night it was, David, where Nick Dowd scored the winning goal against the Oilers' top line. And that's just the way the thing goes. But anyway, that goal wasn't on Stuart Skinner. None of the goals were on Stuart Skinner. He made a number of fantastic saves. He robbed TJ Oshie. I think of the 8 shots that Oshie had, 7 were robberies by Stuart Skinner, and the 8th one was finally a goal where he was unencumbered to blast a 10-foot one-timer from directly in front. And you'll talk about that one in a bit. But none of this is on Skinner. He was great in this game. And more power to the kid. He deserved way better support from his teammates at both ends of the ice, really, and he didn't get it. But that's not on him. It's on the skaters. And I would even make a case it's the coaches to some extent.
Yeah, this is one where you start to wonder about the coaches. That said, my good thing is involving the coaches. I think McDavid's worked out on the penalty kill. I think he's added an element to the kill. I think he's done an okay job defensively, at least as good as the other forwards on a terrible penalty kill. Like let's face it, it's a terrible penalty kill.
True.
And but he's done at least as good a job as any of the other forwards I've noticed out there. And he adds this element of striking terror in the hearts of the opposition because of what he can do if he picks off a pass, picks off a puck, or gets a loose puck in the defensive zone, charges up the ice, and he did it tonight. He, I think it was Carlson who tried to make a pass, and McDavid knocked it out of the air, went in on a breakaway, and he's money on those breakaways. It was fantastic. So I give Woodcroft credit for trying this out, for figuring out, but here's one more way, one asset that I'm not getting the most out of. I can, and not have these long portions of the game where Connor McDavid's on the bench when the other team has a power play, and we can get him out there. He's doing a great job. He's doing a good job at least killing them, and he just adds that element of, so the coach is going what I would call the full Gretzky. Gretzky was such a great scorer of goals on the shorthanded, and why not McDavid? It really worked out. The only other, I haven't looked at your game grades yet. There wasn't a lot of players who I thought played well. I see you gave Klim Kostin a 5. I think that was fair. I thought he was one of the better players.
Yeah.
You gave Holloway.
That's why you got a 5, David.
Yeah, that's right. And you gave Philip Broberry a 5. I actually thought Philip Broberry, he looked. I thought it was his best game again. He's making plays on defense, Bruce. He's got that. He's big and he's rangy and he's able to stop people, which is more than I would say about most of the Oilers defensemen tonight. I mean, Kulak and Barrie just were rancid, and Nurse and Ceci had their troubles. Bouchard had his troubles, but I thought Philip Broberry was the probably the most reliable Oilers defenseman tonight. And he got 15-31, so he got a little bit more ice time. So he'd be my second. If there's any other positive, I see he gave Nuge a 6. But I thought Philip Broberry was
about the best of the lot.
What's your bad thing?
Well, as I put in our pre-podcast notes, my good thing is Stuart Skinner, and my bad thing is everything else. So it's a potpourri, and I already covered some of it. So I'm actually going to let you go first and single out your thing.
Yeah.
And then I'll follow up with, I'll decide which among the potpourri to heap further abuse on.
The bad thing I'm going to talk about was so bad. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing with my eyes, Bruce. I didn't want to gouge them out because I like my eyes, but I didn't need to cover them. And I don't know what was going on the Oilers penalty kill, because the puck goes down low. I don't know who the two players were. Was Oshie one of them? One of them, the puck goes down low. Kulak and Barrie are defending. Tyson Barrie should not be out on the penalty kill. I don't believe. He's just not big enough, and he tries. He's become a decent enough even strength defender. He's lost on the PK, and so the puck went down low to the side of the net. In the position where Hyman will often get it, but on the other side of the net, then Hyman usually is on. So that's the right side, and they pass it out to the slot right through Kulak. Right through Kulak. It's a tough play for Kulak, right? He's got he's worried about the pass going out to the slot, and the other guy might shoot. So anyway, it went right through Kulak, And on the first play, Barry and McDavid, I think was out there as well. Neither of them covered the slot man, and he got the first shot, and then it was followed by three more shots
from the edge of the crease.
from the edge of the crease, and they could have scored in any one of them. All of them, all four of those shots in a row within 3 seconds were all five alarm shots, the most dangerous shots. They go in about 30% of the time. And how they didn't score there, well, Skinner was amazing. Like any guy had some good luck on his side too, but they didn't score somehow. So the Oilers somehow dodged that bullet where Tyson Barrie had let the slot wide open, and they hadn't scored. McDavid had done the same thing. But Bruce, 33 seconds later, 33 seconds later, they score a goal on the same exact play, and it is worse than the first one because I don't know what Tyson Barrie was doing, but it was just they just left the player 10 feet in front of the net, wide open to get that pass, the low high pass as I call it, from down low to the high slot, the low high pass.
Mm-hmm.
Goalie's back in his crease because he has to be because the player's down low, and it goes through Kulak again. And Barrie, I think my best guess is Ovechkin's out there, so he's trying to shade towards Ovechkin. He's worried about Ovechkin, but don't be so worried. Like, you have to cover the guy in the slot. Why aren't you covering the guy in the slot? Does anyone have a theory? If anyone has a theory, come on Twitter, tell me tomorrow what you think it is, or tonight, or whenever you hear this. If maybe someone within the Oilers coaching staff can have an anonymous account and send me the answer, because I'm totally baffled. Twice in a row, he did the same thing, leaving that guy wide open, and I've never seen it before. That kind of play, like, honestly, like, it's because it seemed like it was almost by design, Bruce, that he left him open. Like he was trying to shade over to cover Ovechkin. It's like bad idea because there's someone
leave it forward to do that.
Yeah, that's their job. That's you have time to get out there and try to block that shot if the pass gets by you and gets by Kulak over to Ovechkin, which is a hard pass to make from the low high position. Like that low high pass diagonal to Ovechkin, that's not an easy pass. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about Ovechkin. Like, worry about the guy in the slot, and they didn't, and bam. The game is then 2-2. And at that point I just thought, the Oilers have had horseshoes to be up 2-1 in this game.
Yep.
They've scored. They've only had 3 grade A shots, and they've scored on 2 of them. Mm-hmm. This is not. They're not going to win. This isn't going to go well, and it didn't. So
I was hoping for at least an overtime point, but those seem to be unobtainium for Edmonton Oilers. They lose by 1 goal over and over and over and over again. Anyway, it's in regulation. But anyway, I'm sure Barrie he was aware of Ovi sort of tapping his stick and waiting to pass, but he did abandon his primary post. But the odd thing about that goal, it wasn't that they left the guy alone in front. You do see that from time to time. But what happened was all 4 penalty killers got above the guy who was shooting the puck, and the pass was coming from below the goal line. They're not in the passing lane. They're not in the shooting lane. They're not in either guy's face. It's just like, here, you pass it, have a 2-on-0 against our goalie. You pass it out front, and you slam it into the net, and we'll see if Stewie can stop this one. We're really enjoying his performance. Let's give him another test. I mean, wake the hell up.
It was like they're all in the red light zone. The red light zone is you're not covering a passing lane, and you're not covering the shooter. And all of them, all 4 of them, were wandering around in the red light zone. All right. What's your okay? Now we're gonna potpourri. One of my favorite words, potpourri. What a funny word that is.
French, 2 words in French. Yes. Anyway, it's
meaning the Oilers suck.
Meaning a collection of things.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Anyway, I'm going to go with the game-winning goal, or as I prefer to refer to it as an Oilers fan, the game-losing goal against. That made it 3-2 in the third, and you knew as soon as it went in, I thought it was probably going to be it. And it was a combination of things, starting with an egregious play at the offensive blue line where Brett Kulak mishandled a puck leading to a breakaway. And it was who was the dude from Washington, number 59? uh, Aliaxi protests.
Oh yeah, that
Now,
huge
I never
dude.
heard of the guy. Robbie
Yeah.
Brown said the same thing on the post-game show on Chet. He said, I never heard of the guy. And Washington, like, I mean, we like to talk about all the injuries on Edmonton. Well, Washington's got a ton of guys down, including their starting goalie right now, one of their top defensemen, several top forwards. So they're bringing up depth guys like Alexei Protas, who had a breakaway, deep Tyson Berry out of his socks for another clean shot, and then made this play on the game winner, which was essentially a partial breakaway, where he pulled up and then passed it back into the slot. And Kulak was in desperation recovery mode, and behind him came his partner of the moment, Evan Bouchard, who decided to go for the big hero play and try and make the sliding, to chop the puck away or something. And he slid and came up short. And it was what he did next that was baffling. Like, he sort of got up to his feet and he kind of faced the end boards and he was kind of gawking around and he didn't have any idea where the puck was. And where the puck was right behind him. And the guy, Protas, had passed it to the goal scorer, Nick Dowd, who came in looking straight at the ass of Evan Bouchard's pants and the number 2 on his back. And he shot the puck by him and by Skinner and into the net. And I just don't know what it was Bouchard thought he was doing and what he was even attempting to do when he recovered from his original failed dive. And I'll tell you who else didn't know, and that was the coaching staff, because Evan Bouchard sat on the bench for the entire remaining 12 minutes and 47 seconds that was on the clock. He never saw the ice again.
Hope he wasn't hurt.
Well, yeah, I hope he wasn't hurt too. I don't see how he was hurt. I just think the coaching staff was not impressed with the play and just thought,
I'll have to
enough.
watch. I'll have to watch that again. I didn't really. I saw it as a desperation play for stop a guy on a break.
Yeah, well, watch what he does after.
Yeah, but it's hockey happens fast, man.
Yeah. Well, mistakes happen fast, and he made, I think, several in that sequence.
Yeah.
He misjudged the dive, for starters.
I just came back from a beer league game where I made a bad pinch with 3 minutes left and caused a goal against. So I'm always a little bit sympathetic on the
game losing goal against.
Game tying, and then I was out for the game winning goal. That was deflected in though off someone else, like not me, or it was a weird goal. Anyway, like. Hockey happens fast, and it really does. And I feel sorry for defensemen when they screw up, generally speaking.
Yeah, well, you'll be feeling sorry for a lot of defensemen tonight, David, on the Oilers.
I don't feel sorry for Terry. Just wait a second here. Here's a comment though that I like. If we were bending over backwards to be fair to the Edmonton Oilers, we might say something like this tonight, Bruce. And this is from an Oilers fan, David Short, who's a very bright guy and a very fair-minded.
The ad man, eh?
Yeah, the ad man. And here's what he says. Can't help think this team is still feeling the effects of a travel hangover with key players out there overworking themselves to compete while tired. Eventually, it catches up to anybody. Mm-hmm. That is an excellent comment. That's really fair. Minded thing. I hadn't thought of that, and so maybe I'm not going to retract things that I said, but my general sour mood is what it is. But I think that's a good comment. I think David may be onto something there.
Yeah, well, Kurt, in his 9 things this Sunday, our colleague, Cult of Hockey, Kurt Levins, wrote this according to likable Tony Brar of Oilers TV. Over the last week, the Edmonton Oilers have traveled 7,875 kilometers. That is from New York at the start of their most recent road trip to the flight home from Minneapolis. Fatigue is a real thing, but I do believe it comes with some caveats. So that was Kurt. And of course, that road trip was from New York all the way to Edmonton for one game, then back to Chicago and back to Minnesota, and then back to Edmonton for... So now they're here, and they'll settle in for a while, but they had no legs tonight. And I have to say, this is the worst that I've seen McDavid or Draisaitl play in a long time. Certainly both in the same game.
Yeah, I thought Leon especially was just like really had the heavy legs tonight. Like he never got going.
Neither
Like,
of them could make anything happen. McDavid had one play that was his only shot on net in the game,
yeah, fair enough.
and Draisaitl had one shot on net in the game, and they couldn't click with each other. And of course, they didn't get any power plays because they weren't winning enough battles to earn any power plays. But this was a game I thought, when they reached been playing like 25 minutes routinely in these games and doing all this travel, and it's just a matter of time to catch up with them. And as a general rule, Draisaitl is the more likely one to tire first. He's the bigger, heavier guy, and as I wrote
Yeah,
in this comment tonight, it's just the fast twitch fibers weren't firing for him, and he was just a little sluggish and slow to react and slow to anticipate. And then the other kind of unlucky thing that happened for both of them, they kind of got it going down the third period. Like you could see him ramp up the intensity a little bit. Between 9:27 of the third and 1 second left in the third, there was one stoppage. So the clock just tick, 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 and down it went. And there were rolling lines, but normally those guys, would get a
they
little bit
needed a
more of it.
break. They needed
Well,
a
they got
they
one
needed a
stoppage,
whistle.
and they didn't call the timeout because it was an icing. But in the end, I'm sure the coaches were gambling. Well, surely there'll be another stoppage in the last 2 minutes, and there was with 1 second left on the clock. So it was just one of those things that kind of, you'd like. There are times where you want the play to roll, and there are other times where you want the whistle to go. And
Yeah.
usually it's a team in the lead that likes seeing the clock roll. So.
All right, let's move on to numeros. I'll start it off.
Okay.
My number is 6. And this is the number of Oilers forwards who have played 10 or more games who have 1 or fewer goals. So it starts off, I'll just go, we got, let me just make sure this has been updated. Klim Kostin, we'll go with him first. He's played 10 games, I believe. And he's got
one goal. One meaningless goal.
One meaningless goal.
3 seconds left in it. So
there's he's played 10. Matthias Janmark, 12 games, 1 goal. Dylan Holloway, 22 games, 1 goal. Jesse Puljujärvi, 26 games and 1 goal. Puljujärvi had a weird game tonight. He looked like he was punch drunk. Like he was just so out of kilter tonight. Who else do we got on the list? Connor Yamamoto, 14 games, no goals. And, charging up fast, Brad Malone, 9 games with no goals.
Devon Shore?
Devon Shore, missed him. Devon Shore's got no goals, right?
And how many games?
Bottom, 21 games and no goals, Bruce. I've seen enough of some of these players because of this travel thing that David Short, I'm not going to name who I've seen enough of, but I've seen enough on that list. I've seen enough of a few of them. And I don't know what they can do, but.
And let's bear in mind that, to be fair, not only they had the travel thing, but we're talking in some cases about the numbers 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 forwards on the depth chart because of all the guys that are out.
Yeah.
So expectations are fairly low to begin with.
Yeah, but 0 or 1 goals, that's not. That's. If
you got Derek Ryan. Derek Ryan has 2 goals, so he's barely out of that zone.
Vogel and Ryan McLeod have 3 each. If all of those guys that we mentioned had just 1 goal more or 2 goals more, if you could imagine that, two goals more each, this is a different record. This is a different team, and they've got to figure out a way. These guys. Holloway's getting close. Like Holloway, I think he and Broberry are both trending up. I'm liking what I see in both of them. Janmark, I've liked what I've seen in as a player. Costin's had his moments. Anyway, they just got to get it going on. They got to get going. What is your number, Bruce?
My numbers are 16 and 14. And this is the splits of Edmonton's 30 shots on net tonight, of which 16 were taken by defensemen and 14 by forwards. Here are the leading shots on goal leaders for the Edmonton Oilers tonight. Cody Ceci, 4 shots. Brett Kulak, 4 shots. Darnell Nurse, 3 shots. And Tyson Berry, 3 shots. And then behind them at 2, we have Derek Ryan, Jesse Puljujarvi, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. So 4 defensemen had more shots on net than any single forward on the entire team. And if you want to do it for shot attempts, well, it's more of the same. 7 for Darnell Nurse, 6 for Brett Kulak, 6 for Cody Ceci, 5 for Tyson Berry, and no forward had more than 3 shot attempts in this game. So for all that we tend to focus on defensive blunders, the fact is that the Oilers stunk at both ends of the rink in this game. They
They
got
sure
nothing
did.
going offensively. I mean, 1.5 expected goals. Natural stat trick had it at something like 5 point. They use a much more advanced formula than we do, of course, so you don't get the nice round fractions. But they had it at 5.25 to 2.09, which is a big thumping for expected goals. You don't usually see that big of a spread in that category. So there's nothing in any of the stats that says anything about Washington deserved to win. And the closest of all the stats is the actual score of the game, which was much closer than the actual game was.
Indeed. Bruce, let's leave it there. Thanks for talking tonight.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.